Trigger warning. This video mentions mental health, drugs, alcoholism, death, and grief. Viewer discretion is advised. If you're struggling, please reach out to the mental health pipeline. Thank you. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Spotlight with Sandalina, and I'm your talk show host, Sandalina Sitar. Today's guest is Asmita, who is a South Asian and Muslim influencer, former social media coordinator for LANEIGE, and also a very strong advocate for mental health in our community, as she had a family situation that she'll dive into later that made her very passionate about the cause. So I first met Asmita at an event in December put on by Pankti, actually one of the prior guests on this show, and she opened up to me about a very powerful story about the loss of her sister, the dynamics of that within the Ismaili community, her journey as an influencer and in the world of marketing. I think she has a story that would resonate with a lot of people and just bring very unique perspective to the landscape that we've developed through this show thus far. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Tell me a little bit more about your upbringing.
So I was born in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
We were there from 98 to 2008. And then we moved to Toronto. My parents are Canadian. So dad's born and raised in Toronto. Mom's from Africa, moved to Vancouver when she was 16. And then to Toronto in her 20s. So my parents met, dated, got married. I'm 25 now, and I'm still back and forth between Atlanta, Toronto, New York. New York just got added to the mix.
So how was that? You moved around a lot, it sounds like.
Yes.
How was that impacting sort of like your friendships growing up?
I hated it when I was growing up, but I think being 25 now, it's helped me so much. And especially like the industry I'm in, I'll be alone and I'll be okay. Like I'll know how to manage. I can go up to people, have conversations.
Yeah.
But growing up, it was so hard. I was also bullied as a kid.
Yeah.
I think I counted. I have a list of all the schools I've been to, including universities, because I've gone through a couple of universities as well.
Yeah.
And I think that it's like at 12 or 13 different
Okay,
schools.
that's a lot. And then tell me a little bit more about your parents. So what do they do?
My mom is into product managing consulting, and my dad has owned his business for the last like 23 years.
Okay.
So he's in the ATM and Bitcoin business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he'd pick us up from school. They'd be like 2 ATMs, the seats are all down. And we grew up like not wearing seatbelts or anything like that. He'd pick us up. We're sitting on these like ATM boxes.
Yeah.
And we'd always break the boxes and make them into like little cute cardboard houses and paint them and cut out the windows. And it was really fun.
That's so cute.
But yeah, my dad is Hindu Punjabi. My mom is Muslim. My dad is the youngest of 3 brothers.
Yeah.
And his elder 2 brothers were arranged marriage. My mom was it for him. Like he just knew. He was coming down the escalator. Him and my mom had a mutual friend that worked at one of the kiosks. And my mom's cousin worked in the neighboring kiosk. My mom's there picking up her cousin after work.
Yeah.
And my dad's coming to see his friend. And my dad looked really young. My mom was 22. My dad was 24.
Yeah.
Looked like a kid. So my mom took his business card, ripped it up.
Wow.
I was like, no thanks. But they kept running into each other. They just got lunch one day and then
the rest was history.
the rest was
and
history.
now you're here.
Yeah, now I'm 4 kids later. Like they've been married, I think, 27 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, 27 years.
If you had to describe them with specific archetypes and characteristics and traits, what traits would you assign each of them individually?
So my mom is the outgoing, like always trying to make plans, always trying to travel somewhere and, you know, hop on the next plane. And that's like her thing. She's very bubbly and outgoing once you kind of break the shell a little bit. And my dad is very quiet, reserved, just observer, like observes situations, kind of speaks when spoken to type guy. Polar opposites.
Yeah.
Honestly. They balance each other out though.
That's actually my favorite trope, seeing like the very extroverted, bubbly girl end up with like the very like introspective, reserved guy. And then what was their parenting philosophy with you while raising you?
I think it's changed so much over the years.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
one, having 4 girls, I'm the eldest of 4. So when I was born, I think I was the first girl after 3 generations of boys. So I kind of broke that. And so my dad was like convinced I was a boy. He was just like, I know it's a boy. And then I was a girl, and then it was just a girl after that. My dad's grown up very conservative, whereas my mom is from Africa. And I always say this, Indians from Africa are the coolest people. They really are. They're just built different. Like they're so modern, so forward thinking. My sisters and I have never had to hide anything.
Wow.
It's open door policy.
Wow.
Whatever you need, like mom and dad are going to be there.
And I've noticed that some of the most successful people I've seen and some of the most whole and fulfilled people are people that had that parental support and that privilege of that growing up. So I love that you said that, because I think there are a lot of parents that can learn the importance of just being there for your kid, because life is a constant evolution. You mentioned that your dad is Hindu and your mom is Muslim. So how did you guys sort of reconcile that, especially when it came to like, so in situations where I've heard parents kind of having the same dynamic, there's a lot of issue with the grandparents, right? And the in-laws. So how did that sort of affect your early childhood?
Oh, it occurred.
Yeah.
I think, so my mom left her religion, and you can't really convert to being Hindu. It's like a way of life.
Okay.
But she left her religion and followed my dad's. And I think my mom did that because she also came from a turbulent home. She had an alcoholic dad. And so I think my dad, in a sense, she loved him, but that was kind of her ticket out of that whole situation.
Yeah.
And she was willing to give it up and, you know, make it work. And she tried for at least a decade. It wasn't until 2008, actually, that she started going back to the mosque. But
oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
We weren't introduced to it until 2015.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My mom felt that we needed a sort of sense of community. Yeah. And I think the Ismaili community really has a solid grasp of community versus like the Hindu community, especially for youth. My dad was really hurt when my mom went back.
Wow.
Yeah, because they were like, I get it though. Being 25 and looking back, it was really hard. Now I feel like I'm gonna get emotional, but it was hard seeing them argue.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was hard. I think I've actually felt more secluded within the South Asian community than I have anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because it was hard to maneuver. Oh, mom's Muslim or dad's like Hindu Punjabi.
Yeah.
So, like, my mom had a really complicated relationship with her mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And so I think that affected us in our relationship with her too.
Of course.
I know she loved us. My dad's family loves us, but it was just different. He always had like this American dream. I want to come.
Of course.
Started off, he bought a gas station actually in 98. And we started off in the gas station business, which then turned into credit card processing, ATMs, and now all of it combined, Bitcoin machines added. Yeah. So they always say their marriage worked out because we grew up away from family. Yeah. So my entire extended family, both some of mom's side is in Toronto, and then some is in Vancouver, and then dad's is entirely in Toronto.
Okay. Where are they today on the subject matter? So do you consider yourself Muslim? What about your sisters? And then how does your dad fall into all of that as well? Does he go to the mosque with you guys or?
No. So he'll come to some social events. If my mom goes, like even, I think we've just got into a place where things are fine now. Everyone's like 18 plus. Like my youngest sister's turning 19 next month. Yeah. Nana is 22. I'm turning 26 this year. Yeah. My sisters and I were agnostic. Okay. In the sense of like, we don't follow either religion. We have so much respect and love for both. Yeah. We've embraced both. We've done things from both. I actually feel more peace within the Hindu Punjabi side of me than I do the Muslim side, just because I've grown up in it longer and I've done things in it longer than the Muslim side. Sure. And I think I was in the Muslim side. I've had so much time to like reflect on this too because of the community aspect. Yes. Not so much the religious aspect. That's fair. I believe in spirituality. Yeah. Whether you're saying Om or Ya Ali, like whichever comes to me first, and in that moment I feel like saying, and that's calming me down, that calms me down. Yeah. A lot of people have problems with that. Interesting. But I'm like, this is just how I've grown up. I think what people forget is our parents are humans. They are experiencing everything for the first time. Yes. Even marriage issues, raising kids, like they're experiencing so much for the first time. And so I cut my parents a lot of slack now in the sense of like, you guys had so much to figure out.
I think having that level of respect and empathy to understand like what our parents are also experiencing in parallel with our own individual lived experiences is very important just for like harmony across the family. Yeah. I want to get a little bit more into your sisters. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about each of them. How old are they? What are they up to? And briefly in like 2 to 3 words, like how would you describe each of them?
Okay. This is fun.
Yeah.
So I have 3 younger sisters.
Yeah.
Lily, Nena, and Simi.
Okay.
Lily would have been 24 today. She passed away in...
Her birthday's?
No, not today. Like 24,
Oh.
meaning...
Oh my God. Oh my God.
No, 24, like
years
now.
Old. Yeah.
Years old. Her birthday's November 4th.
Okay.
It's funny. She was born on Diwali. It's just crazy that it was a Hindu thing and a Muslim thing.
Yeah.
It's a very highly celebrated Ismaili
Okay.
event on July 11th.
Wow.
And Lily was empathetic,
Okay.
funny, and smart. Oh my, like genius level smart.
Wow.
Yeah. Nina is sassy, emotional.
Yeah.
She has the biggest heart. And Simi is life of the party, hilarious. She's got a wicked sense of humor. Yeah, she's just the baby of the family.
Yeah.
We're 7 years apart. She's full like my child.
Yeah.
She's like going out experiencing university and like,
Yeah.
you know, showing us her club outfits.
Like,
yeah.
No, I completely relate. My little sister, it's so strange watching her grow up. She's a senior in high school now.
Yeah.
And she's living, you know, her own sort of life. And it's that realization that, you know, your siblings have their own individual lives.
Yeah.
They're dealing with their own struggles and highs and lows. And that it very much oftentimes mirrors our own lived experiences. So just kind of grappling with, you know, the fact that she is her own person and she has these experiences. And, you know, she's trying new things for the first time. And like, I'm trying not to be a helicopter mom. So let's dig into Lily's story.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit more about Lily.
We'll start from the beginning. So me and Lily are 15 months apart.
Okay.
My parents had us back to back. It's funny. Me, Nena, and Simi were not planned.
Okay.
Lily was fully planned. They're like, my mom really wanted me to have a sibling close in age.
Yeah.
So Lily was planned.
Yeah.
It's just so weird to say as like a kid, but
Yeah.
none of us were planned. She was my first best friend. Like she's
Yeah.
all I knew. There were some behavioral things my mom was a little worried about, developmental wise, of like, you know, she would strategically hide behind the slide and like, you know, attack kids or like bite kids or, you know, it was like, my mom was like, this is not the most normal. She took her to a doctor and she was diagnosed with obstinance defiant disorder.
Okay. So what exactly is that in layman's terms?
You just don't like following instructions really. Like you want to be defiant.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
You don't want to follow the rules or, you know, you kind of want to just do your own thing.
I don't know there's a word disorder for that.
I think it's one of the things that is compared to bipolar a lot, like misunderstood as like it's hard to diagnose.
Okay.
It's really hard to diagnose bipolar as well.
Yeah.
But growing up, I think middle school is when things kind of got worse for her, like grade 7, 8, I would say. She was diagnosed then with like depression, anxiety.
Okay.
Self-harm was a big issue we had to tackle with her. She's going through all these feelings and emotions, and we look back at it now and we're just like, we handled it so badly. My parents were the type of people, we're going to go to the doctors right now. Like, we're going to go see what's up. What can we do? Like, they were very proactive in that sense.
Yeah.
But my parents, again, it didn't help that we were living with near so much family at that time when this was happening, that it was like, oh, not us.
Yeah.
Like, not our family,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of South Asian people can relate to
Yes.
that of not
Yes.
us. Like, we're the perfect
Perfect family. We want the white picket fence.
We have the white picket
Yeah.
fence. Oh my God, we'll get into that. Yeah, so we got her help right away, the help she needed. And just like it was a learning experience and learning, like Lily's going through this for the first time, we're all going through this for the first time as well. Educating ourselves. What is anxiety? Why? Like, what causes self-harm? Like, what are the reasons? What are the signs to look out for?
Yeah.
And all these different things. What are the medications? And oh my God, medications, it's a whole nother ball game to get into because there's so many out there. They don't kick in until like a month, like 4 to 8 weeks into being on it to really like adapt to your body. But it's like what works for your body.
Yeah.
You know, it took Lily a very long time too to figure out what worked for her. She was also diagnosed with bipolar really late. She was 17.
Okay.
And at that time, she had already started self-medicating through drugs. Even when she got diagnosed with bipolar, finding the right medication on bipolar is hard. But the last resort medication for bipolar is lithium.
Okay.
And that's when you have a little more severe. And so when she was on lithium, it was great.
Okay.
But when you're bipolar, you don't want to be on medication. I don't think she didn't truly accept her diagnosis, because she'd feel great and then she'd be like, oh, I'm good, I don't need this anymore.
That's part of the manic
Yeah.
component of
Yeah.
bipolar.
She'd be so manic. I'm super manic. I can jump off this building. I can do this. I can do that. I'm going to go jump off this bridge.
Yeah.
And then this depressive part. There's no in between.
I want to take a second to point out, not that it's comparable at all, but I understand the experience of being emotionally close to people that are struggling with mental health. It's something that I've seen through my life in many different forms. And I personally felt in those moments a lot of guilt, a lot of responsibility, and anxiety constantly. It felt like, if God forbid, if that whoever I was close to at the time with those struggles, if something happened to them or they took their own life, that it would have been in my hands, that there would have been blood in my hands, because I wasn't there enough. And obviously, by the way, for the audience, this is not how you should think about mental health at all. I went to a lot of therapy to unlearn that, all of this. When you are dealing with somebody with mental health struggles, it is completely independent of you, and you cannot assign yourself any guilt or responsibility or blame for whatever happens.
Even the way she passed away, still so much guilt. My parents blame themselves. It's an ongoing fight. When they get really upset with you, it's your fault this happened.
Oh my God.
And it's like, obviously it's the anger in the moment.
Yeah. So at a certain point, she was diagnosed with bipolar, and a little bit later, and she kind of knew she was always different. So if you could walk me through sort of from there to, her time in college.
She had always known she wanted to get into psychology. Always knew it was psychology, because she knew going through what she has gone through with anxiety, depression, and then bipolar, which she had known before going to university that she was diagnosed. I want to get into this. I just want to help people. I've gone through this. And they say the best psychologists, psychiatrists are people who have gone through this, because they know
they can understand.
I'm the artsy, creative, all my sisters are so gifted academically. Yeah. I have grown up with so many tutors helping me get through math. I failed grade 11 math. I'm not scared to say it anymore. I'm like, it is what it is. Failed grade 11 math, had to do it in night school. But my sisters are so smart. Yeah. Lily specifically was the type of I'm not studying for this. I just know I'll do well. She just picked up things fast. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just not the academic sister. Yeah. Simi has math awards. Nana's on the pre-med track. All my sisters so smart academically, and I'm here posting on social media, trying to make it still.
No, you still, it's a lot about marketing yourself, and there is business acumen that goes into the world of influencing, which I also want to get into, by the way. But no, don't sell yourself short.
A couple of weeks into school starting, maybe 4 weeks into starting, she had OD'd at a friend of mine's party. But mom knew something was up. Yeah. It's Frosh week. Yeah, everyone kind of goes crazy. Yeah. But Lily loved living life on the dangerous side of things, and really risking her life. And there were some incidences where my mom was just like, okay, this is not okay. Just freaking out a little bit. I was like, Mom, there's just nothing you can do at this point right now. Yeah. It's okay, go home. I'll keep an eye out for her. Yeah. That's how it always was. I was babysitter sister, or second mom sister. So me and Lily also had a very complicated relationship because of that. We had a feeling she was using drugs at that point, more hardcore drugs. So my parents actually had stopped putting money in her account. Okay. Because they're like, what are these ATM transactions? What's this, whatever.
What's going on, yeah.
So I skipped a lot of school, my first couple of weeks of my second year, first semester, just going to go check on her. Yeah. And making sure she's okay. And we're small, okay? We're all very skinny, petite, underweight, yeah. And she was just looking even more so. Okay. And I'm like, buddy, something's up. Yeah. We know what's up. We're just waiting for you to come tell us. And it wasn't until we went to this one party. I'm not friends with this person anymore, but it was her 19th birthday, and in Canada, 19 is legal, so it's a very big deal.
Yeah, it's your 21.
Yeah, it's our 21, exactly. And so I got to this party, and I was drinking.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had just turned 19 like that August. So I was drunk.
Yeah.
But she comes, and I wasn't to the point where I'm like blackout or like messy, but I had a couple of drinks. Then we went to like the club. We were all walking to the club together, and I didn't even make it to the club because I got a phone call. It was like, your sister's like seizing. So I saw her for a little bit at the pre. She had taken something before coming. I didn't notice. Like, you don't notice right away, right? Another thing I should preface is like, when Lily was diagnosed with bipolar, I wasn't home.
Okay.
So I wasn't home to even be educated properly or like see what was actually happening at home.
Yeah.
And what my parents were going through, my other sisters were going through. So for me, when it was like, oh, she's bipolar, I was like, oh, she's on medication though, this will fix it.
Yeah.
Little did I know. It's like, I'm so sick and tired of this at this point. You know, that's where my mind's at. Like, she's gonna do her own thing. I'm not her babysitter.
Yeah.
I also was very involved in the Ismaili community then. So like, my reputation meant so much to me.
Yeah.
I was frosh rep my first year for the Ismaili Students Association, the ISA. And then I was VP my second year.
Oh, wow.
So I was so like, so obsessed with this community. My social life meant everything. I'm VP. I had a huge head about it. Then my sister comes, is like knocking down everything I've built. And I was just so upset with her in that sense. I was like,
that's
you
a rational response.
Yeah, I was like, you can't embarrass me. You can't do this. You can't, like, you know, like, I have like a rep to protect, like, you know, now, oh my God, I could not give less of a shit, honestly.
Of course,
like,
no.
Looking back, I actually am so embarrassed that I had to go but I think I had to go through that to get to how I maneuver myself in social situations today, especially being in this industry. Yeah. But I was so like big-headed about it, like multiple times, like, please don't embarrass me, like, don't talk to this person, don't do this, don't hook up with this person, like, you know, like, don't do it, just don't. Does everything I told him not to do, okay? Comes to a party on drugs, ends up seizing, and after everybody, like, get out of my way, like, my sister needs me. Yeah. The person that gave her drugs that night was the Mukhi Sahib, so the priest of the mosque's son.
Oh my God.
And he's shitting his pants because he's like, he's a master's student too. He was president of the ISA the previous year. Yeah, he wasn't, I was VP, there was another president, but he was the president of the ISA. Yeah. Good looking guy, handsome guy, popular guy. His house that he was living in was the like frat drug house. Everyone in that house, the dog was doing like licking Molly off the freaking tables. Okay, like it was bad.
That's bad.
We didn't even make it to the club. I came back. People had their phones out, Snapchatting.
That's disgusting.
She's on the couch. She's not okay. She's freaking out. This makes me so angry. This makes me so upset that this happened to begin with, but that people were doing this and making like such a show out of it. And he was like, don't call 911. She's fine.
Oh my.
She's seizing. Called 911. I went to the hospital with two of my friends. My boyfriend was there. He wasn't my boyfriend then, but he came with me. And then another one of my friends who were no longer friends, but we'll get into that too, of why. Went to the hospital. The friend that I'm no longer friends with, I considered him my brother. Yeah. Fully considered him my brother. And I was like, just, can you please come in the room with me? Yeah. And the nurse was like, you guys can't hook up. He's gay. He didn't come out as gay then, but he is out now. The nurse was so freaking rude to us. Yeah. There was another nurse. She was Indian though. Okay. She was so nice, so kind. But I just wanted it to be us three. I didn't want to be alone in the room because like I didn't know what to do. They couldn't give her anything. In that situation, you kind of just wait it out and like monitor her. Yeah. Because they don't know what exactly she's taken and what's in what she's taken. Yeah. For her there to even like administer anything. So she was just monitored. It was like 6 a.m. then at that point. I sobered up so quick when this happened though. Like fight or flight.
That'll do it, yeah.
I remember I was in heels and my boyfriend at the time had taken off his shoes to give me his shoes. Puked on his shoes after everything, like we were just waiting at that point for her. She was like stable and calm, and at that point I just probably alcohol, anxiety. Lily had gone to her RA and was like, I need help. Yeah. This is my problem. Because my parents didn't give her or had stopped putting money in her account, she started dealing on campus. She had admitted this to the RA.
Yeah.
And obviously there are so many rules that she's been breaking. But at this point, it was Canadian Thanksgiving. So my mom really wanted to come up. I was like, Mom, you didn't come up last year. Like, don't worry about it. Like, me fully gaslighting my mom, telling her everything's fine. Because in my mind, again, I was so oblivious to the fact of like how serious this was because I wasn't home when all these important conversations were happening.
You're also so young.
I was so young.
It's hard to know what the right thing to do is.
This is like my biggest guilt too. Of like, I could have been a better support system for her, but instead I was like, you're so annoying. Like, you always do this. You're always embarrassing me. Obviously, like the ODing part, I didn't look at it like that because that's a very like life or death situation, you know? Different. I could tell she was really down and out about it because this happened so publicly too. Like, it was her friend circle as well. Yeah. Where it happened in front of. Yeah. Like her peer group. So she was embarrassed about that. But then my mom came, and the next day the school had called my mom and had told her she's being kicked off of res. This is what's happened. And then I had to tell her, I was like, okay, this is what happened last week. Lily was going to commit suicide that day. She was fully about to like run into traffic because she was so scared to deal with the consequences. She was like, Mom and Dad are going to be so mad at me. And that wasn't even like the case. It was just like we were so worried about her at that point. And yeah, my mom took her home. Yeah, we just talked. Yeah. Like, hey, what's going on? Why did you stop your medicine? We had even gotten her a psychiatrist in Canada. Yeah. And the psychiatrist is gaslighting us, my mom. You're a helicopter mom. You have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, this was a full like medical professional telling my mom to like calm down. Everything's fine. Everything was not fine.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah.
And we took her home. We figured out next steps, and then that's when she started rehab for the first time.
Okay.
Yeah, and that year was the hardest year for me, for everybody, because my younger sisters are seeing this. They know what has happened, and they're like, why does she have to come home? Like, you know, this is a lot for them too. But yeah, from an older sister perspective, because I can speak on my experience, but it was so hard. Yeah. I was home every 2 weeks. Yeah. Coming to meetings, trying to support. And I dropped out of school. And in our house, my mom holds education so high.
Of course.
Like, education is everything to my mom. My dad could not care less. He's a businessman. Yeah. He's like, you don't need school. Yeah. Whatever. My mom's very, no, go to school, school. Lily goes to me, this is worse than me doing drugs. Like, fully tells me this is worse than you doing drugs. It was a very transition period for me. So like, I had lost a lot of friends. We don't want to be friends with you because of what's happened with your family, because no one else wants to be friends with us.
So awful. That's so awful. I'm so sorry.
I was like, well, there's nothing here for me. I don't care anymore. Like, I was so just shut off. I wanted to drop out of being VP. I was bullied that year so much. Okay. So much. I'm talking like prank calls of people like threatening to kill me.
Jeez.
Like at 3-4 in the morning.
That's awful. Yeah.
We also took this to the ISA board, like the Ismaili board, not just like, we took it to the school. Yeah. They did nothing about it. This is Muki's son. This is the priest's son. This is the priest. Like, he's untouchable. Called his work. I don't think they did anything about it either. Yeah. Because he was working at the hospital. Yeah. I was doing some research stuff for the hospital.
Just completely turned their back.
And it's so funny because even now they're like all about, oh, mental health. Like, no, you're not.
No.
You're actually not.
Yeah.
This happened in 2017 to now. So how many years is that? 7? Yeah. 7 years?
7 years.
And I don't think anything's changed. The community aspect in all organized religion. Yeah. I think the common denominator is we have this perfect life. Yeah. My kid's in this school. My daughter's doing this. My son works here. Yeah. We're perfect.
That's oftentimes the case.
And we're so public about this now too. So the video that I have posted on my Instagram, that was filmed when Lily was doing really well.
I watched that video. So I remember once we'd met, you'd linked it to me, and I watched the full thing. And I remember thinking that Lily was very articulate and self-aware.
And she is. She was in general. Yeah. Like, she's always been like that.
God writes straight with crooked lines. Okay, I think that saying really hits home for me. I can look back at my life now, and in moments where I really saw my mental illness, I would be like, it's over. My life is over. There's no point, no reason to live. And now I can look at it and see that all of those moments were just like another step in my journey to get up to where I need to be. And it's really like God has my back. God did not bring me this far to just drop me on my butt. God has my back, and everything is a plan, and having faith in my higher power has really helped me, and believing the people around me, because I'm my own worst critic and everybody sees better than I can see myself.
She was doing really well at that time, and then when the video was ready to be released, she had OD'd for the second time.
How many times did she OD in total?
3, and the third she didn't make it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the second time was in 2019.
Okay.
My mom and I were actually in Europe on my birthday trip, my 21st birthday trip, and she had OD'd 2 days before us coming back. At that point, 2019, I was going back to school.
Okay.
So I'd got back into school at Ryerson. So I was moving back to Toronto, and I'm like, I had so much anxiety because I was like, oh my God, like I need to get this goddamn degree now. Like, you know, I interned 2018 and 2019 in New York City.
Okay.
And then I had actually moved to San Francisco in 2018 as well to do a UI UX course, because that was my gap year to really figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Moved home for a couple of months and then came back to New York for the summer and then went to Europe. And I had so much anxiety that, oh my God, this year is going to be a shit show again.
Sure.
Even though she's not there, it's like I know at the back of my mind, all of this is happening at home. This can't be my focus right now.
You have to.
And as an older sibling, like that was so hard.
My brother's special needs. He's autistic and he's epileptic, and this is something that I struggle with too, is understanding the relationship of me and myself and the guilt associated with not being able to contribute 24/7 to the situation with my brother, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, the conclusion that I've come to, that my family has come to, and that is that it would be a disservice to their sacrifices in the American dream, and all that they've done to build a life for us here, if I were to shortchange my own success as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
Like their kind of point is like, we did not come here and do all this for you to feel confined to our household because of a circumstance that we're happy to handle as parents.
Yeah.
So, but there's still, that doesn't mean there's not guilt associated with it.
It's your sibling. That's
it's your
blood.
sibling. That's like,
That's, she's all I knew. Like, or like 15 months apart, we've done everything together. Yeah. So that was tough, but
I just want you to know that it's okay. You know, it's okay. You have to live your own life, and you have to compartmentalize and do what you can.
I'm at the point now where, like, yes, I still have some, like, the guilt comes and goes.
Sure.
Like, it does, like, but I'm at the point now is, like, Lilly was her own individual person.
Yes.
She was her own soul. She had her own life journey. She had the power to make right and wrong decisions.
Yeah.
And ultimately, one decision took her life, and we did everything we possible. And I tell this to my parents too. I think we were that family that did not brush this under the rug.
No, you guys addressed it head on.
So thankful for the parents that I have. Even when all this started happening when she was in middle school, the first thing wasn't that, oh, you're crazy. It's like, oh no, let's go see a doctor and like see what's going on. How can we tackle this? And it's years of education that got us to this point. She was actually going to graduate rehab a week after she had passed, was supposed to be her graduation. Oh my God. She's like a week or two away, something like that.
Yeah.
And she just didn't make it.
Her third OD, which was...
She passed away at home.
She passed away at home. She was at home.
Yeah.
And what year was this now?
This was July 11th, 2020. So 2020 was really rough for everybody.
Of course.
Right? Yeah. I had moved home in March because my campus was closing. I was in Canada. The border was closing. So I went home the day before they shut down the border, Canada-US border. And for someone like Lilly, who's in rehab, meetings are everything. And she was outpatient rehab. March to July was very rough because we would barely see her. It was a very rocky relationship between all of us. She had come home that night, and it was like 1 a.m. I remember I was awake, and I'm just like, oh, she's home, great, I'll see her in the morning. Came home, showered, she came into my mom's room, gave her a hug, kiss. She went into Simi's room. So it's like when you come upstairs in our house, like my parents' room, my room, Simi's room, Lily's room, like a semicircle.
Yeah.
Hung out with my mom for a little bit. Such a great mood, like bubbly, normal. She's like, hi, I just wanted to come home. I was like, yeah, great. You know? Then I think, she went to go shower. Then she went to hang out with Simi for a little bit. Simi gets a DM from one of Lily's friends that was on FaceTime with her when she was in Simi's room that previous night.
Yeah.
Was like, hey, can you go check on your sister? So I think this friend knew. This friend was Lily's dealer, actually, that was on the phone that night.
Oh my
We knew about this guy, but we didn't know about this guy.
Yeah.
We just knew guy from rehab.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the newer people who had joined. So Simi gets this DM and was like, oh, what the hell? And so she opens the door, she walks a few steps, she's like, oh, she's just sleeping. And then walks closer and was like, screams. I've never heard a scream like this in my life. So we're like, oh, it's probably a spider.
Yeah.
It's from downstairs.
Yeah.
And then the second scream. And my mom runs up. I was like, what's wrong? She's fine. Because there's a hallway you can't see, and then gets closer, and then.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It was a rough day. We've gone through loss with grandparents. You know.
Yeah.
Simi shouldn't have found her. Oh my God. Simi shouldn't have been the one to find her, but she was.
Yeah. I was reading your mom's blog and I stopped on the one talking about that staircase. I'll link your mom's blog in the description.
Yeah. Oh my God. The freaking staircase.
She was talking about how when you guys moved into the house, they saw this beautiful staircase, like, oh, maybe this can be the staircase that, our daughters walk down in their lehengas for their weddings and prom.
Yeah.
Prom dresses, and
the stretcher came down those stairs. Yeah. That's why they bought the house.
Yeah.
Was that staircase. It was one of the selling points. On Instagram, it's so easy to see, oh, big house, happy family. At that point, I think I was very about putting up this image because of, especially about what had happened in 2017 with my social life. So when I had started social media, I did it in the sense I love creating. Don't get me, like I live, breathe, love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. But then in the back of my mind, it's like, I want to like show all these people who are, rude to me that I'm like living my best life now. Everything's fine. Because at that point, these people aren't in my life to know like what's actually going on behind the scenes. So I think everyone was like, oh, Lily's in rehab. Like it's fine. They've moved on. But it wasn't until she passed away that they're like, oh,
yeah,
there's all this still going on behind the scenes. So after she had passed away, so that video we didn't feel comfortable sharing because she had OD'd around that time. So she didn't want it shared.
Yeah.
But we felt after she had passed that it's just such a good resource for people going through this, especially in the South Asian community.
Very informative.
I wish we had support from the South Asian community. Simi went through a hard time in the sense of
of course.
Yeah, she was in a wheelchair for a little bit. She would lose feeling in her legs from just shock, and she was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So now it comes and goes sometimes still. We have to be very careful with like if she feels overexerted, like because I think that's her like fight or flight, and so her legs just fully will stop working.
That makes sense.
I actually saw this in Never Have I Ever, season 1.
Okay.
Davy. Her legs kind of did the same thing.
Oh, what would have helped you? What support from the South Asian and the Ismaili community would have helped you? And what did they do specifically that hurt? It sounds like there was backbiting, gossip culture, otherizing.
Yeah.
What other negatives were there? And then what would have been the best way to support your family?
Majority of like the otherizing. Growing up, moving so much, when you do make friends, like those friends become your whole life.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I don't have this perspective on friendships now, because if your friends want to be there, they'll be there. I have no idea how that feels. So anytime I get that friend, I was like, I want to be like the bestest friend I could be.
Yeah.
That's how you look at it. And so I hold friendships to a very high regard when I do make friends. But now it's like, if they want to be there, they'll be there. Yeah. And so if they could have just been there, how can I help? How can I educate myself?
Yes.
What's going on? Like, I think education is the biggest thing, especially in the South Asian community.
Yes.
Rehab is all white people.
Yeah.
They know what's up.
Yeah.
Like
I'd
they're
imagine.
like, yeah. And so we had such great support from the rehabs and from our doctors and things like that. But my parents were ostracized too. They stopped getting invited to things, and
It's disgusting.
yeah,
That's such a shame.
it stung.
Of course.
And it wasn't until Lilly passed away that all these people now, or when I started social media,
yeah.
oh, like, how are you doing? Oh, you know this person.
No.
Or even with my mom, oh, like, you want to, like, now we'll invite you over. We feel so bad.
It's disgusting, heinous behavior that's so deeply embedded in so much of our community, unfortunately. And I'm not just saying, when I say our community, I mean South Asian community, and then also within the Muslim community. There's just like two spheres that I'm referring to. There's a lot of room for growth. And I hope that anybody listening can take away from this story that it's important to be a safe space for people to lean on. It's important to never sort of create distance between you and a family that you might think is maybe a bit of an outlier. If anything, use that as an opportunity to understand
why.
Understand why and how can you support one another.
Yeah. And this is not to say you have to check in on them like every day and be there. It's not like that. It's just supports, like, it's the little things. Honestly, it's really the
small
little
gestures.
Small gestures. And another thing is, like, Lilly was not perfect, and this is not to like over glamorize her story, and like, you know, it's not like that. This is fully for awareness, but like, that girl also, she knew when she made mistakes, but she took accountability, and she always took accountability. All these people got away with so much, and I'm just waiting for like karma to get them back. Like, I'm that person that I'm just like, we couldn't get, the law couldn't get you. My sister's gone now, but all these people are living like nothing's happened. They got away scot-free.
I've grown so attached to her just by watching that 20-minute video that you shared and reading her mom's blog and hearing your story at the coffee shop and now hearing it again. Like, I feel like I want justice for her, you know?
Yeah. That's what hurts the most too, is like, in that sense, we don't feel like there's been full justice there, because it's like we lost.
First of all, thank you again for sharing this story. I am so honored that you trust this environment.
I fully told her, I'll say the audience before recording, I was like, I'm not gonna cry. Fully cried like 4 times already.
For those of you that have been watching, this is my first time crying on camera.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, don't be. I wanted to say thank you for also bringing that out. I want to make sure that this resonates with the audiences too, and I don't want to be sitting there robotically while my guests are emoting. So thank you for, you know, giving me an opportunity to also feel this story with you. This is rapid fire, so I'm gonna ask you a question and you just respond within a few words with as clear and concise answers as possible. First question, Toronto or New York City?
New York City.
Okay, why?
I'm in my New York City era right now.
Yeah.
I think Toronto, I don't mind settling down there, but to get my career kickstarted, this is the place to be.
Friendship X?
Lying, projecting your own insecurities. So you'll be like, if someone's doing really well, you're like, oh, like, why are you doing that? I actually have trouble like taking help from friends and whatever.
Sure.
I'm like, oh, no, I'm very independent. Like, I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
But I'll be there for anyone whenever they need type thing.
Yeah.
So those are like my 2 things.
Friendship green flags.
When you tell someone good news and they're just so happy for you.
Yeah.
That's the best feeling. Or when someone's like, when your peers are like genuinely proud of something you're doing.
Speaking of being proud for people, what has been your favorite collab so far that you've done? Yeah. I've loved working with the team. I don't know how I bagged it to begin with, honestly. I know how you did, with very high class content, by the way. Very good content enthusiasm.
Thank you. No, but I'm their ambassador for the year this year, so that's been really exciting.
You mentioned that you were kind of doing maybe one of your earlier projects with them, and you're like, yo, I want to do this really well, and I hope, you know, it can turn into a long-term partnership.
Yeah.
And now I see this content that you're making. How many views have you gotten for Fossil through your Fossil partnership? I feel like on TikTok, one of your videos like really blew up.
Both of them, one of them is at like 1.2 mil, and then the other one is like at 700,000.
Such a beautiful video. It was so New York.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
I'm so inspired here.
What would be your dream collab?
I want to work with like a Louis Vuitton or Dior or YSL or like luxury.
What's your favorite beauty product right now?
I'm loving the House Labs products. Like their highlights and blushes. They're just so good.
What's your prediction for the next big fashion trend of 2024?
It's like old money. That aesthetic of like old, like classy. I think because now I'm like 25.
Yeah.
I'm not dressing like how I was when I was like 21, 22.
Sure.
So I'm like not more, I guess more modest, but like my twist on that, or like more just old money. Like I'm in Italy on a yacht. Like that's my vibe.
Would you ever go on reality TV?
No.
Okay.
I'm so bad with like, no.
That was such a fast response.
Yeah,
like, no.
no, I could not.
What would be your piece of advice for anybody that wants to break into beauty, lifestyle, fashion influencing?
Just do it.
Yeah.
I was really scared. I started at 2,000 followers, and those 2,000 followers, majority were like people from the Ismaili community. I started working for a company called the Saree Room, doing their social media, and they worked with a lot of influencers and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, wait, I really want to do this. Like,
Yeah.
that was my favorite job.
Yeah.
I still have a really good relationship with one of the co-founders, Sophie, and she really helped me maneuver and like get started in that sense and like really encouraged me. My first account, I made a separate account like called Styled by Asmita.
Oh.
And she was the one that was like, no, you should make your name your brand.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I did, because I
Yeah.
had that account for maybe a month and I was like, now
Yeah.
I've grown my page. So
Yeah.
just do it. Don't be
Yeah.
scared, because your life will change for the better, honestly.
Yes.
Like, I think about like just the kind of people I'm surrounded by and the kind of cool opportunities, or just getting like things sent from brands. Like, I love when my friends come over, I have like 3 boxes of like PR things. Like, just take what you want. Like,
Oh.
it's like a Sephora in my
Yeah.
apartment, I swear.
I can completely agree. I think content creation was absolutely important for me too. Like, I started with just like word vomits on TikTok, where I would just say like, oh, like this is what's on my mind today. Before we wrap up, I want to hear a little bit about your journey influencing, how you got into it. And I know that you were also formerly a social media coordinator for LANEIGE, which is a
Yes.
very popular brand.
Yeah, so I got started really into the whole space while working for the Saree Room.
Wow.
Because of my experience from there, I got NBC. At one point, I
Wow.
was actually working at NBC and Saree Room at the same time.
Okay.
That was so chaotic, but
Yeah.
really good experience. And then Kenneth Cole I got because of my experience at the Saree Room, because it's South
Okay.
Asian fashion, but it applies, like what I was doing there applies to so many different aspects.
Yeah.
And in a sense, like, they're still like startup vibes, or at that point they were. And then I got LANEIGE because my old boss from Kenneth Cole actually moved to LANEIGE. So when I was graduating last year, I'd messaged her.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, we got along really well. Like, I'm actually looking for work. And I really wanted to move here so badly
Yeah.
after school. I did not want to stay in Toronto. I wanted to get a job right out of school. Like, that was my goal. And I ended up bagging this job before even I finished my exams.
Yeah.
I got this job. I don't think it was the right role for me in
Sure.
particular.
Sure.
But you learn. You
Yeah.
live and you learn. Yeah, I didn't love. It wasn't my favorite job. It was great. Everyone says, "Oh, LANEIGE,"
Yeah.
but wasn't the right fit for me. But I'm actually got a new job. It's
Okay.
at the Sasha Group, which is one of Gary Vanderchuck's media agencies.
Oh, wow.
As a senior content manager.
What are your plans for the future, for the foreseeable future at least?
Right now, I'm just very immersed in like building my career, whether
Yeah.
like my social media side, as well as like now corporate side. Like, I'm excited to get back into corporate, because like my reason for moving here was because of the network that's here.
Yeah.
And the industry that I'm in, there's nothing like it. Like, for my industry in particular, it's either New York or LA.
Okay.
And I'm a New York. Like, I'm East
You're a
Coast
New York girl
girl
through
through
and
and
through,
through.
yeah.
Like, everyone sees me and they're like, yeah, you are New York. I think every person needs to experience moving away from home,
Yes.
moving to a new city,
Yeah.
kind of starting from scratch on my own merit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm very proud of that. Because I moved here last May, and it wasn't until January that I was like, now have like somewhat of my bearings.
Yeah.
I have people I can like call, hang out with. I have a good group of people I can reach out to.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show again. It's been such an honor and a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Gosh.
5 cries later.
5 minutes later. No, that was warranted. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. Come back next Sunday for the next full-length episode. And in the meantime, I'm your host, Stanley Nasatar, signing off.